Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on the conversation. Okay, now let's hear your thoughts, Bamidele, on all of this, and also how you think that it would influence investor confidence and also cause the euro bond yields to surge, particularly for key sectors like the oil and agricultural sector.
Okay, first of all, you quote a number that I'm wondering where that data is coming from. Nigerian trade, are you looking at export of Nigeria to the US when you quote 10 billion, or you're looking at the export of Nigeria to US and US export to Nigeria? Because I'm not sure it's more than $6-7 billion. However, when I saw this news, my first response was Nigeria is about to lose about 10% of its export market, because Nigerian export is about 60 billion thereabout, and about 6 billion is export to US out of the total export of Nigeria. And like the other presenter mentioned, majority, about 90% of Nigerian export to US is crude oil and gas. Now, but on a second look deeper into the data, I realized that if Nigeria gets some things right, particularly in terms of infrastructure, particularly in terms of production, particularly in terms of support for the real sector, manufacturing, we might just be able to take advantage of what is going on in the US right now. Considering the fact that Nigeria is among the few countries that have the lower tariff rate. In Africa, you have Ghana 10%, you have Egypt 10%, you have Morocco 10%, Nigeria is 14%. But the major supply in Asia, like China, China is about 34%, Vietnam 46%, even Japan is 24%. So I foresee a situation where countries that are producing, and maybe we'll get to those conversations, I mean, kind of product I think Nigeria should be looking at, countries that are producing competing product with what these other countries have been producing, now that they have to pay a high tariff, making their product more expensive in the US market. If we are able to meet up with the quality requirement and produce efficiently, we probably will be able to take advantage of those markets. My thought on the situation.
All right, now back to you, Bamidele. Nnamdi did say that he believes AGOA is a neo-colonial tool, and he doesn't believe that Nigeria has the enabling environment to take advantage of this situation. Now, considering our trade benefits under the AGOA, which are at risk, speak to us on what your thoughts are, and also what measures policymakers can take to mitigate some of the losses.
I mean, AGOA have never been successful, and the reason is simple. You are giving a child, a 1-year-old without teeth, a chicken lap to eat. How does he enjoy the value of that if he doesn't have a teeth? We really are not able to benefit from AGOA significantly because of a lot of challenge of export readiness within, not just Nigeria, most part of Africa, sub-Saharan Africa. And it's a tool for control. Like I said, it's a tool for control. Rwanda at some point stopped the movement, the import of used clothing from the US, and US yanked Rwanda from AGOA. And Rwanda is saying we want to become self-reliant, self-sufficient in producing our own clothes and shoes. But US said, no, you must import used clothes and shoes from the US. So it's a tool for control. I've never been in support of it. So I don't think we should even be talking about that right now. I think what Nigeria should be looking at right now, what are the low-hanging fruits? Currently, Nigeria exports crude oil to the US, top export of Nigeria to the US, crude oil, petrol gas, fertilizer, lead, cocoa and cocoa preparation, oily seed, plastics and plastic articles, edible fruits, and then fish and crustacean. Those are the major top items of export that constitute about $6-7 billion. Those are the conversation I think Nigeria should be having right now. What do we need to do to grow the production volume of this product? Because some of them we can actually do it and be able to take advantage of the market created as a result of this. Those are the conversations I think we should be having. I don't think we should be talking about AGOA. And like you said, AGOA is ending this year, and we've not really been able to benefit from it. And I don't see that happening right now.
All right, Bamidele is still on you. Let's digress a bit to, some of the African countries, especially for those small, heavily indebted countries within Africa. Do you think that these tariffs could exacerbate existing debt crisis, within these countries?
I think so because one of the challenge we've had in Africa is the fact that we have not diversified our source of income, which I think this can do for some African countries because for the tariff, some African countries also have a very high tariff. For example, you have I think it was Madagascar that is 47%, even though Botswana is about 37%. But we have Morocco, Egypt, Ghana,
Lesotho
Nigeria,
is 50 as well.
About, hello?
Lesotho is 50 as well.
You said?
Lesotho is 50.
Yes, exactly. So because of this, meaning we won't be able to take advantage of this market because, I mean, the US is the largest importer in the world. So if you're not trading with the US, you're not likely going to be able to do as much as you should be doing, which is why you have the alliance of China. Of course, China is learning that the hard way right now, find other market for themselves. I think it's going to increase it because of even the ripple effect you are seeing as a result of this decision in the world is not going to be a good one for African countries in general, particularly for those that won't be able to take advantage of this market and the fact that they've not even diversified their source of income before now.
Now, Bamidele, speaking of Africa economic response, just as Nnamdi has actually rightly said, we know that Zimbabwe has announced plans to suspend all tariffs on U.S. goods, after facing an 18% tariff from, this whole tariff issues. Now, what are your thoughts on the IMF's warnings that escalating trade tensions could trigger global inflation and even recession?
If we don't speak with one voice as Africa, because we're already disadvantaged economically. Total export of Africa is just about 2.5% of global trade. The economy is just about 1.3, 1.4 billion. So we are already at a disadvantage. Trying to do individual negotiation, for me, it's not a good way to go at all. And the whole idea of AfCFTA is for us to be able to come together and trade together, of course, but more importantly also is to move beyond that trading together to have not just free trade agreement, custom union, a common market, and probably similar monetary policy and single currency on the continent. Those are the conversations we need to be having. So that in this kind of situation, Africans speaking with one voice, which I believe is a very tall order because these guys have successfully divided us, and it doesn't look like the leadership right now are really, really ready to be able to do what they need to do. But if we are able to achieve that, then it will have been a lot easier for us to do one negotiation. Look at what happened in the case of EU. The whole of EU, 20%. The whole of EU, 20%. Which is, some will have been a lot higher, some will have been lower if they were to deal with them one-on-one. In Africa now, we have people as much as 40, whether we have some people as low as 10, maybe we'll have been able to have an average tariff that will have helped the other countries within the African continent. Now, another issue I'm seeing, in addition to what you talk about, the inflation, of course, IMF because of the increase in cost of goods as well as the tariff, is the fact that we're likely going to also see some job losses in Africa because China is already positioning itself. Two things China is doing. They are supporting their exporter with export credit insurance to go to any other market to sell their goods, protecting them in case there are risks they will be facing in that market, and providing finance support to increase production to those markets. Meaning, since we are import dependent in Africa, for example, in developing country, they are going to find a way to get those goods into Africa, and they are going to come in at a cheaper rate. And we might see our factories being shut down because other products are coming in cheaper and they are able to price out our manufacturers. So the beyond the cost of living, beyond the inflation, we might also be seeing a lot of job losses in Africa because of the option that these other countries need to begin to look for to sell those goods, because those goods must be sold. The factory must keep working, else those presidents are going to have issue with their people, because they also are going to have a lot of issue with job loss if the factories begin to shut down in those countries.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time and for speaking to us on this very, very interesting topic.